All right, let's make some bowling stuff, shall we? If you'd like my little guy, say hi to my little guy. I have the watermark and stuff, but let's go ahead and make some bowling pins, shall we? So we're just gonna take this bowling pin here, or what would be a bowling pin, loop cut it, I don't know. Sure, 17 times. Oops, let's zoom in real quick. Let's scale that down to about, whoops, scale there. It's good. And then let's just do that. Now, let's do that again. So we're going to go like this. And we're just going to do that until we have a nice thing going. Just to make things a little easier, let's add our bowling pin reference. Just to, this should be 90, this should be there. Now we got a nice little reference that will scale down to use for our bowling pin. And if we compare size to the ball, let's make it compare sizes. Bowling pins usually are much taller than a bowling ball, usually about, I would say that's about right. So let's just, this is a royalty-free image off a website. If it doesn't end up being royalty-free, then that sucks. But let's use this. What we're doing right now is called blocking out, essentially. Is you'll do something kind of like this, where you'll just move this to the shape of the object, and then you can adjust stuff later as you need, but that's just how this is going. So I'm just adding some materials. I added a material here. I also added a subdivision surface modifier. Once I had that done, now we're gonna get ourselves a nice, two nice red stripes about, I don't know, here and here. Sign there. We have our bowling pin, but let's make this roughness 0.2. Go here, we'll go 0.2, 0.71 metallic. Sure. That's a nice bowling pin. Now we're just gonna duplicate these over here and get ourselves a nice bowling pin setup. But let's first also remember to, yep, we have our rigid body active. Looks like our physics are all set up and ready to go. All right, we got our pins all set up. Now let's go ahead and make the boat, turn this into a proper bowling ball. So we're gonna go ahead and shade smooth. I'm gonna add a simple subdivision surface. We're gonna apply that. And then let's see, if we look up a bowling ball, it has 3 holes along the inside that are pretty evenly spaced. How are we going to make those holes? Well, I'll tell you which we're going to do. We're actually going to, let's put our 3D cursor here using shift right click. Then let's add a UV sphere. And I'm going to scale this across the Z-axis. Scale it, Shift Z across the X and Y axis. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn Alt Z to turn on face select. I'm going to select this bottom, bring it in. Actually, no, instead I'm going to scale across the Z axis like that. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to do the same, scale across the Z axis. Right here, then like so. So this would be our finger hole. So let's grab this. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. And we're going to put it right along the center of our bowling ball. I'm going to say here, let's move global 1.5, global 3. Now we're going to take this, duplicate again. Actually, let's move these closer together. Let's go move over 0.75, 0.75. That feels too close. 0.67. That's fine. Now this would be center, probably down about there, but obviously we don't want it to be like that. Show what you're doing a second. We're going to adjust it so it's facing towards the center. Then let's take all of these and put it in, say, about 3/4 the way. We have just about the same amount sticking out on all sides. Then we're going to add a Boolean modifier, difference, and we're going to add 3 Boolean modifiers. Fire, Boolean, and I'm going to do that. Now we should be able to just apply all of these. Now we have our bowling ball holes. But I see a problem that we need to fix. You see, our holes look a little funky. So let's add a subdivision surface modifier to each of these, shade them smooth, and then we'll do that one more time. Or we'll shade flat and shade smooth again, and that fixed it. Looks like we don't have to worry about it. But actually, I will go ahead and do that, just so maybe I don't get this artifacting right here. So I have it currently shaded flat, but usually bowling ball spots like these are not perfect. So let's take these whole edge and we're going to just bevel them a bit. So let me select that and I'll show you me beveling them. Okay, one issue I came across is if this here, this line intersects with this, it won't end up looking nice and it'll be difficult to select and then bevel won't work properly. So that's probably not a good way to do this. So actually let's remove these subdivision surfaces instead. Let's remove them so we hopefully don't get that error. Let's make sure they're not applied. So let's try this again. All right, let's try beveling this. Looks like we won't get a lot of bevel before it breaks. So this was definitely not the way this should be done. But it worked for what we want it to do. So let's go ahead and add some, I guess, some texture to this bowling ball. And then we'll make the lane, and then we'll apply some physics. Oh yeah. Make it a shiny blue. So we added a blue material, then made base color blue, then turned down so it's pretty shiny. That looks like that's a pretty convincing bowling ball, I'd say. Now we can do the lane, and then we'll get grooving. So I'm actually going to use some of my pre-made materials. Let's see if we can filter this by pre, and then I'm going to say, what looks like a good texture we could use? That looks good. That looks pretty bowling alley-ish. So let's move this up a bit just so we can see it a little bit better. And yeah, that looks pretty good, I'd say. But let's add some dark spots along the mesh. So I'm going to add some loop cuts and then add some like brown lane marks. For cool's sake, let's actually just add, I'm going to bring our 3D cursor over here and let's add a little spot to catch the pins. Then let's add some camera tracking. That's what we should add, some camera tracking, and we're going to watch the scene unfold. Maybe we'll add more later, like some gutters and stuff, but just so we can get a better view of everything. So here I made our little backboard. Now let's add some physics to it. rigid body, but make it passive. So in theory, oh my. That is not what I intended to happen at all. How did that happen? There may be some clipping going on. Oh, I understand. So the collision shape is not correct. Let's convert it to mesh. So they were colliding with each other. Now, look at that. Now, there we go. And then let's add this same thing to this board. Let's turn this to mesh. Now let's see how that looks. Oh yeah. And you can see our bowling pins actually have a little jump there, and I actually want to keep that in. I'm going to keep that in. All right, let's make some final tweaks. So let's go ahead and add a camera quick. Our camera. And then we're also going to add a curve, Bezier curve, which we're going to, I'll show you in a sec. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to move the camera to the place. I'm going to set the Bezier curve to move along a path. So we're going to go take our camera. We have our path. I'm going to add object constraint, and I believe we're going to follow path and select this curve. So what I did that, we selected our y-axis. So our camera faces the correct direction. We have it so it follows the curve. And then this was actually going the wrong way. So I did Control A and then applied all transformations. So now our camera should just about follow the path. But you can see it's not quite aligned how we want it to go. So let's fix that. And actually, wait. No, it is going the wrong direction still. So let's fix that. And it's also not quite aligned. So let's fix that. We should be able to just move it over, but we'll see. All right. So what we're going to do to fix is we're going to go here, data properties. And if we go to path animation, we should have some options that allow us to change some stuff. So let's see if messing around with that will work. All right. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to keyframe these evaluation time. Let's add a keyframe, please. Insert keyframe. You gonna work? Please work. It's not working. Hold on. So it was a very easy fix. All I did was I right-clicked and cleared keyframes because it already had some set for me. So now we're going to go here. We should be able to insert keyframe. Let's turn this down to 100. Then let's say about here, we're going to go to what appears to be 0. And then we're just going to have it hold there. So now if we zoom into our camera, we should see a nice little yeah, that was a little fast, but it's almost there. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the finished product. I'm also going to add some materials to this background, and then we'll be done. So I'll show you that, and bye. Have a good day.